Hello, preppers. This is Prepper Journey, and today is the 5th of January 2021. And yeah, tomorrow's the big day, the 6th, and we're all anticipating that one. So today, my wife, Mrs. Journey, like to introduce her. She's gonna do this video with me. We just went to the grocery store and we picked up what we thought would be good for the piggy. The piggy. This is a 2.5 foot by 8 inch PVC high pressure water pipe. It's got a flat cap on this end, and this is the top cap, and this is the piggy end. I call it the Piggy Cache because it kind of reminds me of a piggy bank where you put treasures inside it. And so we have treasures that we have collected over here to put inside of that. And plus, without legs, it kind of looks like a piggy. So,
why did we do that?
Oh, why did we do this? Yes, thank you. So on Grim Survival's website, the subscribers of Grim Survivor and Prepper Nation are getting together, and we're trying to get a network together to where we can help those that are traveling, say from the big cities, and they're trying to get out to the country to a bug out location or to their family members or their friends, but they have a long distance to go and they may not be able to carry everything that they need with them, especially food. Because you can only go so far with the foods that you carry in your backpack before you run out. So our idea is to put caches in different locations so they can find food to get them an extra 4 to 5, maybe 6 days if you're disciplined and you can stretch it out. So we've come up with some ideas on, we'll start with the radio first because a radio is a component of the cache. And I've got two different radios here. I've got a Bofang, which is a Chinese radio, and it runs about $80. It's a 5-watt handheld, and it is primarily for licensed ham radio operators. You're not supposed to be able to transmit legally without a license, but you can receive all day long without a license. So you could get one of these. It is a little more difficult to program because you have to key in the frequencies. And you do have options. This antenna does come off. This is what you call a rubber ducky. You have whip antennas that you can buy through Amazon, and this one will extend your range a little bit. So these are rated at about 4 to 6 miles, and this is line of sight on flat ground is what it's rated for. However, realistically, you're probably only going to get about 5 miles of sight, line of sight with an antenna like this. You might even be able to increase that a couple miles if you have a better antenna to plug onto this using the proper cable. So for those of you who have a mobile radio in your vehicle, you can take the antenna cable and plug it in right here, and that will give you the extended range. So there's that. You can set that over there.
Got it.
But these are very packable. This comes with a rechargeable battery in it that has a power cord, a wall wart that plugs into an AC outlet, and it charges this. But if you want to, on Amazon also, you can buy a battery pack for this, and it extends it down a little ways, and it makes this radio about yay long, but it makes it a little thicker too. But it gives you the capability of putting AA batteries to operate this with. I think it's four to six AA batteries, and then you can use rechargeable AA batteries, and you can do it that way too. So that's an option. Now I have a different type of radio here. and I think I told you that was about $80.
Mm-hmm.
This, I bought a pair of these. These are FRS GMRS radios, which you do not need a ham radio license for to operate, and you can transmit and receive freely on these. I think these have about, I want to say they're 10 channel, but they also have weather radio capability. So what's really neat is you can push a button and hold it down for weather, and it'll start scanning for a weather channel, and when it picks it up, it should pick it up. There it goes. Okay. Okay. So these are not as powerful as that other radio. I would say these are probably about 3 watts, where that's closer to 5 watts. So you're not going to get quite the range with these, but they're great for around your home, and you're reaching out to about a mile, probably at the most. But these are decent radios, and I will pass them over to you.
Thank you.
So what one of our ideas is to include one of these cheap radios into our cache, and so leaving some instructions on it on what frequency we're to communicate on, and that allows the person who does get to the cache to communicate with the person in the network, and if they need help or if they want to try to link up and be met somewhere or something like that, they'll have a means of communications. So that's a good thing. So let's move on to the basics of the food that we want to put into our Piggy Cache. The first item on our list is rice. This is a 5-pound bag, and I think we paid $7 for this 5-pound bag. And I will let Wendy, my wife, Mrs. Journey, go ahead and explain a little bit more about how this breaks down per serving, meals per day, and so forth. We did some crunching.
Okay, so instead of the serving that's on the package, we're Americans and we eat a lot more than that in general. We have a family of 4. Our kids, we have 2 kids still at home who are actually adults. They eat as much as an adult. So when we planned this, we decided to do it for 4 adults. That way, if a couple of children are with a couple adults, or maybe even 3 or 4 children, depending on their ages, would be able to consume this. So if you have young kids, you could consume this and have about the same amount even if you had more people in your group.
Mm-hmm.
So for one meal, I cook 1 3/4 cups of uncooked rice up for the entire family of 4 adults. So we figured that this 5-pound bag of rice is enough for 6 meals for my family. So that works out to about 3 days if you have 2 meals each day. Now, rice is really boring by itself. So we're going to include some bouillon.
Exhibit A. So we have cubes of dehydrated bouillon, which has what, a 3-year shelf life, roughly?
I believe it was, yes.
So what we can do is we can either keep it in here, and if we need a little bit more space in our cache, we would go ahead and break it down, put it into a Ziploc bag, and that way you can maneuver it around in there a little bit better. Also,
another option that we're not able to get in our area of the country, maybe somebody else in another area could, is Flavor Boost. My mother-in-law came up with this, and it's really, really easy to use. It is a liquid pouch that you just squeeze it in. You don't have to worry about trying to hydrate the cubes of bouillon. So it's a really, really easy way to use it. Now, along with our rice, we were figuring beans.
oh yes, beans, the magical fruit.
I thought that was musical.
Musical, magical. The more you eat, well, let your imagination do the wandering. Okay, so what we figured.
So one meal for the 4 of us would be half of this bag. So if you cooked up this whole bag, you would have 2 meals for the day, which is basically what we started with in our plans. Then
we also figured that you would need to soak these beans
in water.
And it would be overnight. So our suggestion would be is to have a good meal of something else, and I've got some other items here I'd like to show you. But have these soak on your first night when you get to the cache overnight in a Ziploc bag, which we're going to include some Ziploc bags in the cache, and let them soak in there really good, so that in the morning when everybody wakes up, you can prepare the rice and the beans, hold some back for later on.
Or we have another option too.
Oh,
you recall that?
Chili.
The first night that you get there, we have something very easy for you to heat up and eat.
So we have 2 cans of chili that we're going to put in the cache. So for 4 people is what we're designing this for. So you could split this up between 4 people, and that would give you protein, a good amount of protein, meat and beans.
And you could add some rice to it if you needed more.
Yes. So those 2 there.
So then you're also gonna soak your beans overnight,
and it's for 4 days. We have 4 pounds.
4 pounds of
different types of beans.
When you include the chili. Now for flavoring the beans, we also have.
Oh yes. We also have
individual
the flavor packets for chili to spice it up a little bit. And these can be bent and conform inside of the Piggy.
Right, and you don't have to have a measuring spoon to say, oh, I have the exact right amount. You just dump in a pouch.
Speaking of flavors, we also bought one of these, and this is a small salt and pepper shaker that we're going to include salt and pepper in to help flavor it a little bit.
And the next idea that we had was oatmeal for breakfast.
Oh yes. And so we bought a cheap box of
$2.
A variety of flavors
packs.
For oatmeal. And this is a really easy meal. You just add water, warm, hot water, and there you go.
Let it sit for a minute or two.
And it's a pretty good hit with kids too.
Yeah,
they like the flavored ones. And you can take it out of the box, and you've got individual packets that you can cram down into the nooks and crannies.
Let's go for the sweetener next. And,
okay, so another thing is, I know a lot of you are coffee drinkers, and some of you are going to really need a caffeine boost because you're going to be dead tired in the morning. Every bone and muscle in your body is going to be aching most likely, and you're going to want something to pep you up. And so I found this espresso, and so you just need a teaspoon of it in a small cup of water. But for those who can't handle it straight, there's something to cut it up a little bit. And instead of regular sugarcane sugar, we decided to put some stevia or stevia. I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
That's how my friends pronounce it too.
And it's a little healthier than cane sugar. And so that will help with the bitterness of the espresso if you're not used to that. But this is solid caffeine right here, and that'll get you going.
It's not for me, but it might be for somebody else.
Now for on the trail,
yes,
I've got some items, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this. So you have Cliff Bars, different flavors of Cliff Bars, and you have other types of protein bars and energy bars that you can include, whatever happens to be a good price at your store. At our store tonight, these were a little bit more better price.
They were $1.40.
I think they were $1.19 a piece.
$1.19.
And sometimes you can get them for like $4 for $5, or maybe even $5 for $5. So
sometimes.
But yeah, so look for good deals on protein bars, and you can add some of those in.
I would like to add too. How long are these going to last, honey?
They're only good for about a year at the most. The best buy date is probably about 6 months out, but you can stretch it to a year as long as you do not allow moisture, humidity, and make that cache airtight. So that's going to be key. Is when you go to seal that thing up, you put a good ring of Gorilla Tape around it, and you could also have a bead of caulk that goes up underneath the lip, and that will make that tube completely airtight. one other thing we got, some comfort foods. So 2 for each person. And this is a big hit for kids, but you could get some sausages or some beef jerky or something like that, whatever you can afford. Now, at the end, I'll let you know how much all this costs, but
we're planning to reevaluate this cache in about 6 months.
Yeah, so if it's not used within 6 months, we will go visit it, dig it up, and we'll make sure that everything's still viable. Anything that needs to be taken out and replaced, we'll take care of it at that point. And rebury it. Here's another good trail food while you're going along. Stuff a mouthful of these sunflower seeds in, and yeah, so I got dill pepper pickle. They've got barbecue. This is cracked pepper. They have original. They have ranch too. So whatever flavors you want to put in there, those are good. There's the stevia box. So let's get to the canned. Well, actually, let's get to the meal in a can here. Everybody's familiar with soups.
Right.
You have Progressos. You have the Campbell's.
We decided on 4 of these, and we decided to choose one that had a very high caloric intake.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 servings in this can. So for somebody to eat this entire can, it's nearly 300 calories. But it's 33 grams of carb and 13 grams of protein, which is a really good ratio for somebody who has to be really careful medically, like me.
Mm-hmm. So you can add this to your rice and beans that you cooked earlier, or you can just eat this standalone.
Yeah, you can have it as a trail meal. You could have it separately, whatever.
So we got a few of these. Actually, there's 4. So if there is a group of 4 of you, you got 1 can each. Otherwise, you'll have to divide it up. And we also thought maybe it might not be a bad idea to put a couple of cans of tuna in there. You can eat this by itself.
But honey, how are you going to get that open? This one has an easy pop lid.
That's a good question, because on top of my Spam here, I have a little tiny can opener. So Spam, you can shred this. You can just cook this right into your beans. And it'll disintegrate into a bunch of pieces, and you can add some more protein to it, and it'll probably make it taste a little saltier, a little better. But I just put that thing right up underneath of the tab, and it holds it in place. So that allows you to open up the regular cans. Okay. Another thing that is a hit with kids generally is you can get Vienna sausage, and it's a pop top. So you just pop it and you can eat it. You don't have to heat it up. You can eat it cold. The regular is not as big a hit as the barbecue is with me. The barbecue is a little bit more expensive, not by much, but if you can find it at your store, maybe you might want to think about getting some barbecue flavor.
Yeah. We only had the plain one available locally.
You just have to get past what they're actually made of, and you're fine. It actually tastes pretty decent. So I know there's a lot of Vienna sausage haters out there, so here's some options. We don't intend to put these in because we have enough already to put into the cache, but if you'd like, there's other options for meat. There's corned beef hash, and it's got a shelf life
this one is 5 years,
so 5 years. We got some larger cans of tuna chicken, which also has a very long shelf life.
This one's 3 years.
Cooked ham, and I think that's about 3 years as well.
This adds a nice flavor to your beans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got this at the beginning of 2020, and this one expires in 22. Oh, I'm sorry. I labeled it. We bought this in 2017. So brand new. It had a 5-year shelf life.
So it's still good to go.
Yes.
And another popular favorite amongst a lot of people for comfort foods is some summer sausage. So you could quarter this thing up and give a chunk to each person in the group, and they would have some good meat. Good protein right there.
A good munchie.
You might also and I'm going to let Wendy, Mrs. Journey, sorry, my wife Wendy, describe the necessity for if you have a diabetic in your group. She knows a little bit about what the needs are, and I'm gonna let her take it and describe it.
Okay. So if you have somebody in your family that has a medical issue, I have diabetes, and one of my sons who still lives with us is showing diabetic tendencies. And so to mitigate that, we make sure that before I work hard, I eat something. If I'm in the middle of working, like when I go to work, I have a timer set on my watch to remind me, stop at 10 o'clock and take a snack break. Stop at 2:30, take a snack break. And I also have another alarm that says, go to lunch now, because I tend to get really, really focused in on what I'm doing.
Now, what are these that you're...
This glucose tablet, though,
Glucose tablets.
provides immediate sugar directly. A lot of people say, oh, I'll just eat a piece of candy. This goes into your bloodstream faster. The other issue is when a diabetic has their blood sugar drop dramatically, they have a hard time chewing. This melts in the mouth. So
now, how much does
hard
this
candy
cost
is good.
generally?
I want to say around $3 to $4, depending on where you go.
Okay, so it's not going to break the bank, but it might not be a bad idea to throw one of these into the cache in case there's a child in the group or somebody else that has diabetic needs, and if they run out along the way, that is going to be a big deal.
Right. The other thing that I do is I carry in my purse all the time lifesaver candies. I buy them after Christmas when it's a 5-pack, and I can get them for like $1 or $2 for 5 rolls of candy. These are hard candies that if I go skiing, I just keep eating these candies all day long to keep my blood sugar levels up, because it's a lot of work to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
And I had practiced a little bit by stuffing this, and you can put a surprising amount of stuff into the Piggy Cache. Now you can use, there's other alternatives. You can use a bucket with a lid. You could use a bin, as long as you bag up the stuff inside of it really good with like Mylar bags and things like that. But the key is just keeping moisture and humidity away from the cans and other foodstuffs to make it last. And so that's pretty much all that we had to tell you.
And
I think
our grand total, you promised,
yes, of course,
is just shy of $60. We spent $57.50.
So we bought a little bit more than maybe you could get away with, but we bought some extra Ziploc bags. We don't intend to put all those Ziploc bags in there, so maybe a couple of dollars off of that. And if you've got an extra amount of good quality freezer Ziploc bags, that would be good to put inside of the cache as well, so that when you're soaking your beans, you are less likely to rupture if you have to put it in your backpack while you're soaking or something like that. So that's key.
Because that would be best if you soak them overnight. Continue soaking them through the day, and then cook them.
Yep. So that's all we have for you today, Mr. and Mrs. Prepper Journey, and we hope you come back and join us again soon. Thank you for joining us.